Hey everybody. So this week we're doing podcast on Monday. Not sure if this is going to be a standing thing, but this week we have action-packed week and I'm attending some continuing education. And so I had to juggle some things around. Having said that, today I want to really talk to you guys about the back end story of the Alkaline Method. Why the Alkaline Method? What created me to curate a significant, unique method that truly integrates all the missing pieces of the puzzle together. Because me as an autoimmune patient, as well as a practitioner, I've spent majority of my career feeling confused, feeling marginalized, feeling so limited, asked to do things for the sake of doing them because by convention, that's what we're taught. And nobody asked any questions. I started to have a lot of questions. One, because my health was on the line. And if something didn't make sense, I wanted a better way. And so that's what caused me to be incessant, like relentless about finding a better solution. And I came up with the Alkaline Method. I needed to find a way for me to make sense of the whole dietary interventions because there's so many things being said and me being given advice about whether to go keto, whether to go paleo, eating only the animal products, as well as the vegan friendly, all the vegan. So I believe shouldn't be any dogmatic ways of doing things a certain way. I really want to empower each and every one of you guys to be directed from a internally referenced frame point, not an externally referenced frame point. Here's what I mean. Most of us, I am just as guilty as charged. I look to Instagram and sometimes mostly Instagram, really. That's where I get most of my ideas for my dinner plans. And I recently, probably in the last year, because of COVID, I've had to cook a lot more than I had to, right? Because we were homebound and it's just what we did. And upon entering Instagram and all the ideas that I was getting from Korean chefs from all over the world, vegan chefs, Asian, Chinese, Vietnamese, Thai, all the things that I love, right? They all didn't, even though it was vegan, it wasn't necessarily healthy because it was full of gluten and they were using some of the sauces and such that they would get at a Korean grocery store in the name of being Korean, all good, cultural, but it wasn't really necessarily healthy, aligned with the elimination diet that I teach within the program. So I started to juxtapose all the information. I myself got really super duper frustrated. Now, having said that, I don't want to buy into anything because if you know anything about me, I studied nutrition and dietetics in the 90s. I graduated from a master's degree in nutrition in 1998. In the 90s, fat-free was all the rage, and they loaded up these packaged goods with high sugar content, and I was getting fat, and I was gaining weight like crazy. But it wasn't it wasn't really the weight gain, but it was more of the inflammation that was retaining water. And then pretty soon after that, I developed lupus, as many of you guys know. But I was vegan because I was going to Loma Linda University, which was Seventh-day Adventist. And they promote much a vegan lifestyle. No stimulants. There's it's one of the blue zones of the world where centurions live, and they do a lot of health studies and public health studies. They have a renowned hospital and a medical center that people flock to for studying in that highly prestigious community. And I was left eating vegan for 5 years that I was there, because immediately after getting my master's degree, I went on to get my doctoral degree in physical therapy. It wasn't until after 5 years that I fell astray to getting my autoimmune condition. And at that time, I was fully vegan. I wasn't even near any animal products. And out of desperation, because conventional medical system, even though I was at Loma Linda, all the highly skilled doctors couldn't tell me exactly what was wrong with me. And so I was left to seek kinesiology, chiropractic, holistic health, traditional Chinese medicine. And I went to a doctor in Los Angeles who claimed that he specifically cured and reversed lupus. And so I went to go see him, and he palpated my pulse, and he said, you should be eating meat, not just any meat, but red meat. And so that really dumbfounded me, because I have a degree, I know all there is to know about nutrition. And here's a guy who's telling me opposite of what I believe to be true. And so that's what I want to talk to you about, right? Because our beliefs are largely based on what we think is true. They're not necessarily true. Because I will tell you, I did exactly what he said. It was the only hope that was given to me at that time. I followed very much a paleo style diet plan, and I immediately felt better within 6 months. All my ANA, DNA strands and all the serology for lupus disappeared as if it was all cured. And not only that, they gave me a lot of herbal medications. Now, at that time, every time I went to my rheumatologist, it was fear mongering. I used to get high blood pressure because all he wanted to do was give me increasing dosages of corticosteroids. I already had hair loss, and I didn't want to be on corticosteroids. And because I had exposure to other lupus patients who were significantly sick, have moon phase, and they were gaining weight and they were debilitated, and I didn't want to look anything like that. And yes, I was a very vain young woman back then. And so I wanted to get away from anything that was going to get me sicker. And so I did exactly what my traditional Chinese medical doctor said to do, wean myself off of corticosteroid without telling my rheumatologist. And even then, I don't know what was in the concoction of what traditional Chinese medical doctor gave me. All I wanted to believe was that he can cure me. And cure me he did, because by the time I was about to get married, all my serology for lupus completely non-existent. That's my background story. And so today, fast forward 20 years, for me to sit here and tell you there is a legitimate diet for autoimmunity couldn't be further from the truth. I don't want you guys to be chasing the next fad, because that's exactly what we're taught in school, that there are fad diets, couscous, quinoa, gluten, wheat, all the new grains and all the new hype, with the coconut oil and coconut milks. Is it healthy? Is it not? It all depends, right? We shouldn't be asking what food should we eat, whether the food is the enemy or not, but we should be asking the question of why can't we handle the foods that we're eating is a better question to ask, because then we can focus our energy on an internally based reference point to fully step into our power by being fully responsible for our health. And that's why I created the Alkaline Method. It isn't about the food. It isn't about the exercise. It isn't about the meditation. It isn't about having faith, because we can only do who we are. And many of you guys are misguided in thinking that you are being a certain way, when in fact, you're being super sick, attached to your old ways of being sick and being a victim. And that's how you're stepping up to being with full of doubt and fear, because how could you not be in fear and doubt? We have autoimmune condition, right? But yet we do all the things thinking that the solution is outside of us. And so how many of you guys sought out the likes of me, a practitioner who claimed to cure you of something, right? And the moment we start to look and chase after those solutions outside of us, we'll never be free from our own bondage to our suffering, because we're dependent on others to fix us, when in fact, the truth lies in the fact that you're the one who's fully responsible for healing yourself. And so really the alkaline method is all about shifting you wholeheartedly, utilizing the 4 essential elements to shift you from a disempowered autoimmune victim to self-empowered healer that you are, because you're the healer. No other doctor can heal you. So they're right when they tell you lupus can't be cured, because they can't cure lupus. They can't cure autoimmunity. They can't cure MS, rheumatoid arthritis. They don't even understand what it is. They don't know what it's like to live with that condition either. They look at the pathology of the situation minus all your history, all your genetic woes, all your past trauma, all your experiences. They don't even ask you what you're all about, where your upbringing brings you, or whatever traumas or mental anguish that you live with every day. They're busy writing a script for an antidepressant or a constipation medication if you have digestive issues, or thyroid medications, or this or that or this. All they want to do is have a quick fix problem so you can be out the door, out of their office. And so to me, that was a very limited way to approach my long-term chronic condition. And to be told that it was incurable by somebody who has no idea what it is, after a while, I began to ask serious questions. And that's when I created the Alkaline Method. Because here's the truth. 90% of what we do, you and I, every single day is done subconsciously. To understand, to truly understand what our subconscious mind is, that's the mind that is completely unconscious. That's a habituated brain. And in order for you to really, truly understand it, you have to understand the concept of automation and habit. Because everything you think, everything that you feel and do day in and day out is a result of conditioned habitual patterns. You're operating on autopilot. You make decisions ahead of time. You know exactly how your day is going to go because you are operating from 90% of already conditioned way of being. So if you're attached to suffering, if you're attached to your sickness, or you live in fear of your sickness, energy expands where your attention goes. And so if your focus is on the sickness, that's more of what you're going to invite and manifest in your life. And that's the truth that I had to learn. I really had to understand that. With my analytical brain of really seeking for black and white answers to everything that I questioned, this was the thing that was missing in the work that I was studying. So I will tell you, I have a degree in psychology. I have a degree in nutrition. I have a degree in physical therapy, physical medicine. And I have certifications in functional medicine. I am a yoga practitioner at the 500, the highest level. And I'm a master double certified Pilates instructor. I studied energy medicine. And all this to say, I will tell you that if you don't change who you are being, first and foremost, and step into elevating your consciousness to expand your mind to new possibilities and start from clean slate to empower yourself to do the thing from a place of being, everything you do, it's going to be a wash. Because everything you do from a standpoint of being a victim will only produce marginal results. So as long as you feel like the answers are outside of you, you'll always get more of the same. So I want you to look at that, because in order for you to shift your career or even your life and health towards success, you must learn to tame your brain by understanding how your brain works. And that's why the Alkaline Method has 4 essential elements, which I will discuss with you and really delve into the subconscious mind element, which is the first element of the 4 elements of the Alkaline Method, right? So the Alkaline Method really is about transformational psychology, which involve the first 2 elements: The first element is the subconscious mind with the 3 pillars. The first pillar is your foundation or your root, your identity. We have to figure out where you are and where you have been conditioned to believe, all your limiting beliefs of who you think you are. Because from that place, second pillar is your alignment. You're aligned to a false sense of who you are. And as long as you live in that false sense, you'll always feel void and you'll always be suffering on the inside. And then the third pillar of the first pillar of the Alkaline Method, which is the subconscious mind, is your core values, your core vision, your mission. And physically, it's your core musculature, right? Those are the 3 essential pillars of the first element of the Alkaline Method. And then the second element is the conscious mind. And then the third with its 3 pillars, which I won't go into today. The third element is the modern medicine, neuroscience, functional medicine, all the things that you seek medical advice for. You see, that's only 25% of it with its 3 essential pillars as well. Lastly, it's timeless wisdom. It's Mother Nature, energy medicine. It's the 3 essential pillars that go along with the timeless wisdom to tie it all back so that you can finally be whole again. Because if you're being bluntly honest with me, you know that there's a lot of lacking in information in the how-tos when we're seeking for solutions of our autoimmune condition. You get what you seek for. So it's funny to me how patients come to me knowing that I am an autoimmune health expert and they know my degrees and they trust me. They come to me, but they still come to me with a clear agenda for what they want to get out of it. They want a clear-cut supplement regimen or a specific diet. They know and understand the movement piece and they want to learn a little bit more. Many of them want. And wanting something is all good, but wanting something is a feeling, and wanting something doesn't require much of you. You can still want from a place of being sick. I want to be healthy and pay lip service to it, but still feel miserable not doing anything about the want. You absolutely, the key thing that I want you to take away from this lesson together, subconsciously, you have to recognize your tendency to want and your tendency to be attached to the past, your tendency to be attached to the suffering, the fear, the shame, the guilt, all the negative feelings, the thoughts that precede it, as well as all the actions that you take day in and day out. You're habituated. That's why you can't really change, or you can't stick to a program long enough to really understand if it made an impact or not. And that's really the truth, because I've been treating patients for over 20 years, and it's their ability to follow through with the whole program is what's lacking. And you know what? I had to fight the same demons as well. And it wasn't until I really looked at my subconscious mind and understood how our brains work that I really was able to get on my healing path. And that's all I want for you guys, is to finally have a clean slate, to get from point A to point B. Because whatever you want, you need to be committed to doing things from a place of being the person you want to be before you're even there. But if you're already making decisions based on what's available to you right now, which is pretty much limited, you're limited in your ability to think about your health. You're limited in your ability to think big dreams and expand your mind to newer possibilities, because you look at the practicalities and limitations are what really abounds you. And so you get stuck and you keep spinning your wheels in the same place, doing the same thing. You might be a little better, a little different, a little more year after year. But because autoimmunity is a serious condition that degrades your health every single day, you're going to be no better off a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. Every day that you stay passively wanting and live a life in victimhood, dependent on other people to cure you, is a day that is lost and it gets you closer to more debilitated ways of being. I want to change that to really, really shift you from a place of victimhood towards self-empowered healer that you are, because healing is an inside job, right? And so that's the nuts and bolts of the Alkaline Method. The subconscious mind is such a huge component because 90% of what you do day in and day out, what you think, what you feel, what you do every single day is habituated, right? And that habituation will look at the results. If you're sick, you have to take responsibility for what you're thinking and feeling day in and day out, and what you're doing, what you're not doing, right? I remember I could not get myself to the doing. No matter what I subscribed to, I might follow through for a week or two, and then I would flop to the side and fail at the endeavor. I couldn't hold on to it. Either I would talk myself out of it, or I would sabotage myself and blame the program, blame the practitioner, and then just dismiss it as it didn't work. When really, I had to be honest with myself. I couldn't get myself to change. I couldn't get myself to shift my ways of being, to really commit to the path. Because I will tell you, if you really commit to the path, no matter what, and if you're self-integral and committed to your own well-being, no matter what, then you will get there. I guarantee you that. It's because you lack the motivation, you lack the grit to get to where you need to be. Because I usually tell my patients in my program, in my autoimmune health transformation program, what you need to do is get rid of, or you have to get rid of the attachment to your old self to create the new self. And you have to stop being the old version of you. Because whatever you want, what you're committed to is on the opposite side of river of misery or dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it. Because that shift and change, you're going to go through a lot of cognitive dissonance. There's going to be a lot of internal conflict, and there's going to be a lot of disintegration, anxiety, all the things that you have to be ready for. So when it strikes you, you don't just give up, you just keep going. Everybody who's successful in life, whether it be an athlete or a businesswoman, or even somebody who's overcome a disease and cured themselves, they had to get over and overcome their own inner struggles, inner demons, and commit to staying the path. And that requires you to really understand how your brain works, to be able to tame your brain for ultimate success, right? Every single one of you guys are secretly seeking and wanting to feel better, to belong, to be accepted, and to be internally focused and guided. But your self-loathing is what's keeping you from getting there. You don't feel good enough, and there's this lack, and you punish your body, and then you wonder, why are you so sick? And that's the blind side we have to bring awareness to, right? Because I used to think to myself, doing the next best thing, constantly striving, accomplishing, getting there, achieving all the success, only to feel the void deep within me, because my desire to do all those things were for the praises from my mom. It was misguided on the external validation that meant really nothing to me. I don't care about the judgments of others. What really matters to me is that I serve you in ways that you've never been served. If I can help one individual at a time to shift their focus and transform their lives from victimhood to self-empowered healer, that to me is an edifying. And when we let go of our identities of attached to our sickness, and we let go of our egos and our self-centeredness, because when we get sick, what happens is we really dwell in this self-importance. It's all about me, I'm sick, I can't, I do, whatever. Why can't you understand me? And that becomes the focus. But I could only heal when I focused on internally guided focus in my pureness to serve you, to shift you from victim, from sick to health. And when I focused on your well-being, I then started to heal myself as well, because I'm on this path with you. I do have the inner demons. I was enslaved by all the things that I am sharing with you. And unless you recognize that, no amount of supplements, no amount of fancy testing or hormone replacements or any diets or medications can truly heal you. Because I will tell you, many of you struggle with anxiety attacks, depression, and then there is this lack of motivation and deep self-loathing and deep lack of self-worth that keeps you from obtaining your goal. I grew up in a very highly critical and family focused on looks, being slim, looking the part, not standing apart, and being perfectionistic almost was the way I grew up. And everything was a criticism. We weren't really praised. And my mom used to say, if I praise you, then you will get too much of a big head and you'll stop trying. And so I love you so much that I'm going to be the one. Let others praise you, but I'm going to criticize you, is what she used to say to me. And so I longed, and to this day, I long for her affection in her words, but she was very manipulative that way. In her own right, she grew up in Korean War, and her parents were that way too. The goal is to blame other people. Goal is to elevate our consciousness enough to create space to love all aspects of being human, because that's really at the end of the day what we are, right? So I want you to stop self-betrayal and really focus on your willingness. Really look in the mirror. Have I been committed all this time? Or was I paying lip service to what I want passively and spent the money trying, but really didn't do the thing from a place of being the person that I need to be? And then from the place of being, do all the things so that I can get to the other side of the version B of yourself. And that's really what this work is about, because many of you, myself included, there's emotional traumas, there's mental and physical traumas that we were subject to. And traumas look differently for every single person. Emotional abandonment, emotional neglect could have been traumatic for our young brains. Mental abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, or even motor vehicle accident. Or if you're an athlete, young athlete, you fell, skiing, gymnastics, ice skating, whatever the case may be, concussion, all the things. We were told to shrug it off, I feel fine, and move on. But I will tell you, the somatic changes that gets locked into our physicality, that shows up 20 years, 30 years from where you had the injury, is very commonplace for us autoimmune. So when you think about your autoimmunity, you have to look at the whole aspect of your life. It's not just what happened months before you had autoimmunity. It's something that you've been doing, and it's a way of your being that created autoimmunity, is a better way to look at it. Because doctors will only look at pathology and they won't even diagnose you until you have serologically enough antibodies so that they can see that you're truly autoimmune. And I want to get as many of you as possible before it's a full-blown autoimmune disease, because it's absolutely preventable. So let me ask you, I'm going to end with this. What are you tolerating in your life? Who are you? Not who you think you ought, should, and expected to be, but who you truly are from the inside. And I guarantee nobody's ever asked you this. So I need you to start thinking in those ways and look in the mirror. Am I wanting something, or am I really committed to healing myself no matter what? Am I full of regrets, guilt, and shame? So busy in that misery that I'm not taking action towards what I want? What are you really being? Because a smoker will smoke because they're a smoker. Non-smoker can't smoke because I'm not a smoker. We can't do who we are not. And so I want to really end with that. 100% of the time, anything that you want is 100% possible. The only thing that's standing in your way is what's between your ears. It's your brain. So tame your brain, change the course and the prognoses of your autoimmunity. I guarantee that's all it takes. Stop looking for answers outside of you. Decide, commit to mastering your mind and body so that you can master and tame your brain once and for all and start being the person that you envision yourself to be. And dream big, elevate your consciousness, let go of your past, expand your mind to new possibilities. And then from that place of being, then you can start to empower yourself to be the creator of health and the life of your dreams. Because my friends, that is so possible for you. You just don't know it. So I hope that was inspiring. I don't want this to be just an inspiration. I really want you to follow through with the actions because it's like riding a bicycle. We can read about it. We can watch other people ride the bike, but unless you get on the bike and you put everything on the line to risk falling, then you will never learn how to ride the bike. It's the same way with autoimmunity, living successfully. You've got to live the solution every single day. Commit to your self-growth. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Next week, we're going to really dig deeper into the second element, which is the conscious mind. And I'm really going to continue to share with you the components, all the elements and the pillars of the Alkaline Method, because I believe that's what's lacking in all areas of medicine, conventional, holistic, functional, or otherwise. Make it a great week, you guys, and I'll see you guys all next week. Thanks for joining me.